Hey guys, welcome to the next edition of our Roundtable series. I'm Molly. I specialise in recruiting for the GTM function here at Amicus for Web3 businesses. And I've got three leaders with me today to discuss the topic of marketing at the intersection of Web2 and Web3, which is a topic that, from speaking with leaders day in, day out myself, is a topic that comes up all the time, and it's a very important topic at the moment. So before we get into the discussion, I'll just give everyone a little chance to introduce themselves, sort of where they're at the moment, and a bit of background into their experience. And yeah, Lief, if you want to start us off, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Lief Store. I'm the Director of Digital Marketing over at the Stellar Development Foundation. Been in the Web3 space since 2018. Came out of a custodial wallet product, part of Stellar's portfolio, and then have been at the L1 for the last 3 years.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Lief. And Nicholas, do you wanna go next?
Sure. I am Nico. I am the Chief Marketing Officer for Cosmos Labs, or all things Cosmos, more than an ecosystem stack for building L1s. And I've entered Web3 by now, by like 8 years ago, I think, through the world of IPFS. Used to work in privacy and security before that, and software as well.
Perfect. And Navi, do you want to finish us off?
Sure. So I'm now around 13 years of marketing experience, the first 6 year in fintech and the last 6 year between different Web3 ecosystems, Superduper, some CDFI, some IPs and gaming and infrastructure.
Perfect. Thanks so much, guys. So I guess my first sort of thing that I just want to ask you guys, obviously, I've had a brief conversation with you about the topic and the importance, but yeah, why, I guess, do you think that this is an important topic in the space today, and how are you seeing it in your day-to-day work, I guess? Anyone
I
can
think,
jump in.
yeah, I can jump in. This is very present for us. So Web2 and Web3. Usually, I think everybody in Web3 naturally speaks about, onboarding the world on chain and bringing everything that was to this new thing that is Web3. Um, but in practice, it's not, at scale what has happened, of course, in the last 10 years at fully global scale. We've seen like Sparks here and there now with things like Revolut or Circle, Arc, Stripe, Google coming into play. But I think it's finally the year where Web3 as a whole has understood the power of distribution in existing businesses in Web2, and then it's been a change. It's been us trying to sell these products or these new primitives and these new DeFi or finance opportunities first to the people that were more like the early adopters, the people rebelling against the older systems. And now we're finding ourselves saying like, okay, what's next? How do we convert the existing systems into these new DeFi primitives? What does it look like? Understanding really what problems we were solving for them, and really finding out that it's a very different problem space.
Yeah, no,
And
absolutely.
natively in Web3, we sort of become accustomed to Web3.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I think bringing onboarding the Web2 part of financial services is the part where really like traditional enterprise sales is kind of the method, I think, for onboarding. If you are looking at financial institutions that are providing a lot of financial services in some regions, like yes, that's absolutely an enterprise sales cycle, which I think is a challenge for many L1s that have seen the initial adoption from builders and developer community that are building financial service products using primitives from scratch. It's very different when you're trying to now bolt on your existing tech stack to the TradFi market.
Yeah, definitely. Nabby, anything for you to put in here?
Yeah, I think the problem that starts once all the Web3 products thought that we can onboard the 1 billion, and we didn't. Most of these products did end up with not being able to onboard even 10,000 or few thousand of user. For a lot of reason, we didn't focus on utility. Everyone want to build, but the question is, we are building what for who? So if we want really to onboard the 1 billion, we was supposed to learn from what did revolute with the banking ecosystem, how the user from the banks or the classic bank did jump into an application called Revolut, where there is no bank or a tangible bank technically. Same for Wise, same for all of these applications. And unfortunately, we did spend those years trying to explain what is Web3 instead of prove that there is a value for those people and for these people, and prove that there is a trust in the market. A big project, big star that just pop up in the market and disappear few months and weeks later, and this did harm, I think, the whole Web3 ecosystem, and we are still trying to recover from all of this, I think, harms that are caused by marketeers, by us, because we did evaluate things in the wrong way, and also by founders, because most of founders were CTOs, and so it was a little bit hard, or not a little bit hard, it was complicated to translate CTO language to mass people, additional to scams and the ongoing airdrop that did unbalance the whole market, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've mentioned, all three of you, a few things that I want to touch on throughout the roundtable. I think first thing I wanted to touch on is when looking at mass adoption and getting the Web2 community on board with Web3 concepts. How do you find as marketers sort of the most effective ways to do that? And are there any struggles that sort of present themselves when you are looking at trying to translate these crypto native topics such as like tokens, DAOs, everything like that?
You know what I've seen within our ecosystem that's been pretty effective is just it's becoming more common is just like apps that are using a full chain abstraction and realizing like, hey, a lot of users don't even want to use crypto knowingly, but products like AirTM, that are all using the blockchain on the back end, like users don't even know that they're using the network. And then we have other apps that are starting to interact with DeFi protocols, offering earn product on it with yield. But again, users, like, unless they're reading like the really fine prints, they don't realize that they're interacting with a DeFi protocol. So I think to reach the billion users, I used to say, well, everyone should get educated on blockchain. And I think I would go back on that to say, no, we have to like embed blockchain in a seamless way and not try to educate the whole world on how all this works.
100%. I was thinking a little bit of that, of how we have the habit, and I say we, royal we Web3, of wanting to be, regardless of what your product is, your protocol is, the most important thing in the product, right? Like, it's as if going into Facebook and getting a banner that says like, this is powered by GraphQL, everywhere in every action that you do. But GraphQL powers probably half of the web and half of many instances of applications out there. So like, what is adoption? Like, that's a concept that we struggle with a lot in terms of quantifying it well. And is the adoption sometimes we seek, as Lief said, the actual road to 1 billion, 2 billion? Like, do we need to move absolutely every banking user to a MetaMask wallet, or do we need to get those banks to run on blockchain services? What's the fastest route? And usually that's something we struggle with a lot.
What would your thoughts on that be?
I am more of an underlying layer kind of guy.
Anyone, any different thoughts, or does everyone agree with that, I guess?
Well, I think I agree with Lief and Nicholas. Like, for me, it's not important what is Web3. It's not important those explanation or wording, but the most important thing is what Lief did mention is uh, make this onboarding seamless and easy. For example, currently Privy, once you use Privy, you don't even know that they did create for you a wallet. You just connect your email and Tara, you have your wallet, you are within this ecosystem. And this is the most important thing, like make things easy, make things simple, make product that people understand how to use on a daily basis, even if they don't want to use on a daily basis, but the experience is something they are used to. The same onboarding system of any normal app, the same terminology that any normal app, and this will make the first step easy. At least the appeal will be less frustrated, let's say.
I guess from a marketing perspective, if you were trying to sort of reach the Web3 audience, but then another time trying to reach the Web2 or trying to reach both, would you approach that in a different way?
Right. I will start. So I think I'm not sure anymore at this moment what's a Web3 marketing and a Web2 marketing, because I think Web2 and Web3 marketing, these are just titles, but we are in the end using the same channel, but in a different tactic. And this is, I think, the most successful case. For example, Poggi Penguin, they are targeting both. It's an IP that was able to connect with both users. There is a lot also of Web2 application. Again, I will keep using, for example, Revolut, that are able to convert also part of their user into a Web3 because people are able in a simple way to buy token or invest. So it's the same strategy from my perspective, and this is what we are applying now, especially once you have an IP. This will make things easier. If we are talking about casino and gambling, this is easy process to communicate. And if we are talking from pure financial perspective and giving user the power of paying via USDT or other stable coin, it's all about the same channels. We are talking about social media channels, and we are talking about online, offline, also strategies. Just we need to take into consideration also the scams from a marketing perspective in Web3. And this, I think, all of us. I will be also more honest, and probably Nicholas and Lief can correct me. I think the KOL did hurt the whole market, and it's one of the bubble that did explode. People are not anymore able to trust something what we call KOL or influencer. At the end, most of those KOL are paid, and at the end, people did start realizing that it's not only we are not able to trust if those token and projects are going to survive, but also we are not able to trust those KOL. For this reason, the whole Web3 marketing, I think it's a time to restructure the Web3 marketing by mixing both Web2 and Web3 marketing using the old tactic and strategies and adding a top layer of Web3 activities.
Yeah. Lief, you want to go first?
No, it's fun, hearing your sentiments around KOLs. It's also something aside from the component of potentially deceiving some of the market, and there is a speculative Web3 community that loves it, goes after it. But I'll just say, in all my time in this industry, I don't know that I've really seen, effective KOL marketing around an authentic product. I mean, and I've done it sliced it 9 different ways and created like really clear objectives. Because in theory, like a KOL, the thing they should be able to do is drive a particular action, whether that's buying a token, downloading a wallet, going to an event. And a lot of times I just feel like that has not been the most efficient channel that I've used. I'd say the only exception to that I've seen is there are some great content creators that I would say err more on the side of developer advocates that make amazing tutorials and help onboard and educate the community. That's the one KOL type where I've actually seen like positive outputs and something that's a net good for the community.
Here, pretty aligned across the board. I think we are seeing, we can call it the market maturing, we can call it, many things, but at the moment, like I feel much like search, those things were used to be used as curation, right? And then when curation became a business, it became saturated, and then it became gamed, and then you cannot trust the curation anymore, and then you got to find the curator of the curators. It's like it starts not making any sense after a while. I do agree we're seeing a big reset. Most KOLs or people that used to work in this manner, I'm seeing evolve, and botting has exploded massively everywhere, so you can also not really trust any numbers anymore. So with that, you're left of like thinking like, okay, how much time and effort and money am I spending to capture what audience really? Are these really going to be customers? And then what you were saying, Nabih, which is the split between your actual product marketing and then your token or incentive marketing also creates a division of, what are people here really for? Community before used to be a little bit more aligned towards new opportunities, use cases driven with some value. And then now we've seen many of those, I don't know how to call them, but we can call them just like TG and drop chains or projects where, they have a user base that's just sticking around until generation and then they leave. Is that valuable? Is that less valuable than having a tremendously small project kickoff and then growing steadily? I think that's what we are discovering right now. It's like, what's the next iteration of this model that makes sense? I cannot say for a fact that we have found that yet fully.
I just want Molly to comment on Nicholas. He did mention one thing about community, and for me, the community is something people should believe in. Like, for example, Manchester, like the football team, have a community. This is a community. A religion is a community. A political party have a community. People who believe, people who follow the channel because they want to know more. They care about the product. What is happening in Web3 communities, because there is now hundreds of thousands probably of communities, is people, they are joining to just get some airdrop or farming or some point or XP. They don't care about the product. They don't care about our what we are offering. They don't care about whatever we are trying to improve. They just care about the easy and quick win. And we are happy in the beginning that we have big numbers in those communities, let's say on X or Telegram or Discord, but at the end, these numbers reflect nothing. This is like a dust, let's say. Once we really need users or followers or people to connect their wallet, we need to do all these exercise to get those people on board, because again, the main terminology of community is wrong in Web3, and we need really to fix this. You don't need to have 100,000 in your Telegram channel if just 25 or 27 person from this community are online and care. We did a lot of mistakes as marketeers. We are using Asian agencies to communicate and create fake communities and conversation. This is fun in the beginning. That's fine, but later on we can keep doing this. That means the product is even not being communicated in a good way, or no one care about the product, and we need to rethink about everything. And the terminology of community, I think it's one of the main points that we need to rethink about it.
Yeah, I would say the communities I've seen that have performed the best, like you said, they're not the biggest, but they bring together. When I see like our Stellar Foundation along with the product builders on a particular protocol, and you get some end users that are like legitimately interested in the product and using it, like it creates the perfect feedback loop with there where you're getting like users that really care about the product and are using it and getting feedback to the teams that are building it. And then, the foundation itself, we get to see, hey, how can we help this relationship take off? And then of course it taps into a whole nother tier of the billion people that we want to onboard, and we don't expect all of them. Like we're not going onto our Bank of America app and driving input on that product, but you do want this like small little core community that is providing a lot of feedback to the builders.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's obviously really important. Community is one of the main core things. From what I can gather from speaking to marketing professionals in the Web3 space day in day out, is that community-driven marketing and growth is one of the most important ways to go around things, really. And that sort of leads me on nicely to my next question. Obviously, within the Web3 space, community, as we've just mentioned, is really important. But do you think when sort of move into that mass adoption and a Web2 audience, do you think there needs to be more of a balance with more structured traditional campaigns, or do you still think community growth and marketing is the most important and most effective way of growing?
I think I usually talk about marketing campaigns and growth as in a two-track system. You want operating campaigns and of course have those moments that you really, really plan against. And then you have what I would call like general operational and growth marketing, which should be a constant. Otherwise, what happens to many projects overall is, flatline, spike, flatline, spike, flatline, spike, and you run announcement to announcement, which, announcements drive Web3 and are the peak of it. But if we are maturing, like the next natural activity that will come to life again, which is like a classic of Web2 marketing, it's just product marketing, right? Like hammering away day by day, week by week, the value of your product and the little things that help new users trickle in. Because in the end, the sustainable effort will always be, the long and steady game of being able to put users into your product and then keeping them inside of that product over time. The spikes most likely will only net you a spike in users and then, a loss of users over time. So you need to play a little bit of both of community growth, more day-to-day product growth, and then have those special moments, of course, and spikes and campaigns.
I'd say as an L1 though, where when you look at attracting Web2 users, for the most part, we have removed ourselves out of doing a fair amount of D2C campaigns. We, create more of a marketing grant structure. And I think the importance of making sure that the projects building on your blockchain, they become fully capable of doing their own marketing and reaching the niche that they're going after. They have to understand that audience segment, and they should far better than the L1, because the L1's likely going to be have such a wide array of products that reach different audiences. There's no way we can possibly market to all of them. So I think just creating structure that allows your projects to kind of stand on their own, giving them go-to-market support as best as you can, and teaching them all to be great marketers is key.
From my side, I think it's slightly different because of the nature of the product that I did launch, like IPs and game and gambling platform. So it was always mixing the old strategy or Web2 strategy with slightly Web3 strategy. Once I say Web2 strategy is creating the normal funnel and to create KPI for each exactly point. And so from when people communicate and interact on our Twitter space or on one of our tweets till people sign up and then connect the wallet and all of these steps. And between those steps, we need to create some reward action instead of rewards action. We have also some XP, we have some motivation for those people. So it's more likely Web2 perspective of keep focusing on each of these points till we end up with a clean funnel. This was like the most effective way targeting both Web2 and Web3 in the same time. But again, I'm talking from an IP perspective. IP, it means like some brands, characters, and games, and NFTs, and merge, which it's more easy for people from Web2 perspective and Web3 perspective to enjoy and make it more fun and make the session more amusing.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to obviously touch on as well. The nature of the product or company in the space is going to have a different approach to approaching that Web2 sort of audience, I guess. So yeah, it's really important to touch on that. I think my next question, I think it was mentioned a little bit 10, 15 minutes ago, scams. I think the Web3 the Web3 isn't a stranger to scams and a bit of chaos here and there. How do you think building trust with that Web2 audience as a marketer, what's the best way to approach that if they don't have any understanding of what Web3 is and all they know is what they've seen in the news, I guess?
I can take this one first, I guess. So I'll go through the cliches, like reputation is easier to lose and than it is, to gain. Anything that might seem worthwhile for the next 2 or 3 months most likely won't be for the upcoming year ahead of your project if you're really in it and you really want to make it succeed long term. These things appear in all shapes of form. They appear in paid inflated numbers that people can put towards a campaign. It shows in projects in the ecosystem that might give people a quick buck in exchange of nuking somebody else. They're just absolutely everywhere. So the first, if you're in your project or ecosystem, you as an organization, as a marketing team, you're not the first line of defense, then they're gonna just define what your product and ecosystem is. From a marketer's perspective, I see the role as in, you do have to be a fence. You do have to be very serious about who you share, who you amplify, who you promote. Even 5 minutes of due diligence can make a lot of difference for something that, as we know, can go bad very, very quickly. It's hard to avoid entirely. I wouldn't say there's one way to absolutely defeat scammers forever. That's, from my past working in security and privacy, you create a new defense, they adapt, they create a new attack. So it's going to be an ongoing effort. Hopefully you have somebody that's looking out for the community and the community contributes back to monitoring this. You're going to be hit by it. Your community is going to be hit by it. Just make sure that you are aware of this and you at least are vigilant.
Yeah, I think there's, a couple tactical things that we do as far as DeFi projects going through any grant programs with us. There's some things like we have audit bank that's really showing everyone that, hey, we are willing to support all the lots of projects with audits. There's the case studies we put out there, and to Nico's point, it's like, yeah, the projects that you highlight and lean into, they definitely have an impact on your brand and the perception of it. And we focused almost exclusively on projects that are around financial services. I mean, yeah, there's lots of different things that you can build on the blockchain, but knowing like, hey, I think at this point there are so many blockchains, like every chain kind of is building out a niche where they excel in and trying to carve that as part of their brand. And I think the projects that you promote and amplify, they should align with that niche, and you should become known. Your chain should be known for something. Otherwise, you don't have a good brand, and you don't really have something that people would entrust you as like the canonical expert on the topic.
So just I want to start with one thing said. Web3 is not for everyone, and not everyone need to be onboarded in Web3. Not everyone need to trade and have tokens, and everyone need to understand that at the end this is trading. You can lose your money, you can win. And once you are buying, you need to buy not only based on sentiment, but just we need to do some studies and search. And this will take me back to the scams and how to avoid these things. So from my perspective, it's all go back to Web2. We need to build a brand. And those products need to have a brand, and we need to have something we call people brand. It means founders need to be there, community manager need to talk. It's not all about ghost communicating with communities. We need to have a face brand. Someone need to take responsibility and communicate with those people. We need to explain our product timeline, because most of Web3 products, suddenly the product timeline disappear and change. So we need to create like community update and explain for these people exactly what we are doing. We need to justify why we keep postponing token launching. We need to have a real tangible point for people to understand. We need to explain our reward program. We need to explain our partnership. It's all about transparent communication. Haters are always there. Social media is about sentiment, and even if people are gaining, they are always angry, a little bit happy. And if we are doing bad things, people are more angry. And so it's all about, I think, a strong brand, clean brand, super straightforward communication. Whatever is happening, we can just go and communicate. It's better than keep creating some excuses. I know a lot of things go out of our hands as a marketeers, and sometimes we just need to figure out how to clean up some mess in the background. But to not have the label as a scam, we just need to go and communicate. Once we do a mistake, we need to say, guys, we understand you. We understand your frustration. This is what's happening. It's all about, again, there is something called white paper. There is something called light paper. Those papers are there not just to be part of our website, but this is like a product Bible. People need to be aware about it, need to understand exactly what we are doing, and we need to understand exactly what is our like how we need to communicate those points to our community. I'm not sure if Nicholas and Lief agree with this approach, but I think transparency, having great brand is also something important to fight the scam and scammers.
Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one of the top complaints I've seen in surveys is like people just want someone to talk to, a representative, and I think that's where it's painfully evident in whether you run on Telegram or Discord servers. I think having strong community representation is really key. we spend tons of time on doing just a quarterly report, and it's actually one of the things that we see some of the strongest engagement with is just the retro on last quarter and some forward-looking statements on what to expect and the interest in the roadmap. And really, the community is pretty adept to, if things are delayed for whatever reason or things are not working as expected, as long as we're hitting it transparently, I think those are all indicators that our community can lean in and get behind.
100%. Again, you breed the ecosystem that you breed. It is something that people have to own and think that their community is an extension of their brand. And it will start with your brand and the reputation that you garner there. And then if you make room for this, it will be, filled with a bunch of nastiness. So I do agree, Nabih.
Perfect. And I think you mentioned surveys there, Lief. Just out of curiosity, how would you guys all sort of track how successful a marketing campaign or community growth is going when it comes to the convergence of Web 2 and Web 3?
Yeah, and tracking is a huge challenge if you come, from the for-profit sector. I've spent most of my time in venture-backed startups and for-profit, and financial success is not really like a great barometer for whether or not things have been successful, and it's a challenge we all have as marketers. We start looking, there's indicators of intent, again, helpful as a proxy for like, hey, are people really like engaged with your products? There's looking at all the other indicators, like is the electric capital count of active developers that are building on your platform. That's a strong indicator. And then there are program applications like, hey, are we bringing net new builders into the community, and can we attribute that back to campaigns? And that's where I guess traditional Web2 marketing can be pretty effective as far as pathing and attribution to what I would call a soft conversion event. You've shown like someone has enough intent that we have got them through this campaign and got them to apply for a grant, which usually does entail that they've built a prototype or proof of concept. So those are all ways that we monitor success.
Anyone agree or disagree?
No, I think I think I agree. It's like it's very easy to say I've converted somebody, and then see them go in a week or 2 weeks or a month, and then be happy with it, and then ask yourself like, why am I not growing? Well, you're continuously bleeding. It's usually the classic battle, that you have as a marketer with the rest of the organization is, we got to do the boring work. The boring work is like working on retention. How do we make people stay? Acquisition is a problem that you can approach many ways, and in healthy ways or unhealthy ways. You can really open a faucet easily if you want to. But, I do come from the school that, if you don't put a net at the bottom, in the end, they're going to slowly trickle away from your product. Doesn't really matter otherwise.
Yeah, and I think where we probably have shifted a lot more resources is on the project growth path after acquisition. These projects, they need users, they need liquidity, they need real scalable go-to-market strategies and support. And that's definitely the other challenge of marketing is like, hey, how do you teach those projects to market and scale, and how can you support them financially as best possible?
We're the product that I work on, like IPs and games and gamblings, it's slightly different because we can calculate those things by the session, the quality of the referral, people connecting their wallet, how many times they are coming back to play the game, or to buy some extra skin for some of the character within the game, or for the gambling and the casino, where people come addicted and keep coming back to play. So, but we need always to build a momentum to make sure those people are coming players and they remain within our ecosystem. XP formulas, new games, new partnership, new launching, new skins. So we need to keep this energy within the ecosystem for those people to keep coming and playing and enjoying. So it's slightly a different approach from what I work on from Web3 perspective than what Lief and Nicholas are working on. I think their job is way harder than mine.
What, if I may ask, what channels, because you're doing sounds much more D2C marketing, and when you are targeting, probably a crypto native user, what channels have been really effective for you to reach that audience?
So we are targeting both Web2 gamblers and casino player to convert them into Web3 player by just telling them and explaining them in straight way, guys, if you pay via USDT, it's cheaper for you and it's easier also to withdraw your money and all of these tricks. So this is step one. And step two, we are using X Telegram referral program, and also we are partnering with other games to create a multi-traffic channel between us and that. And this is technically working from time to time. We need to create some type of market war, let's say, where our competitors double the XP, we triple the XP for a few moments. So we onboard those people, we give them just more points or privilege, and then we keep doing this. So it's technically Web2 channels. For me, X is a Web2 channel technically. It's a normal social media platform which it's working. Addition to this, we have some streaming platform like Twitch and Kick and other platform in the Asian and APAC area, which people are already within this gaming ecosystem.
And are you using any tools like, say, Hype Lab or Addressable that are kind of apply a little bit of Web3 targeting, but on Web2 channels?
No, it's just like the classic way of doing things. And so far it's working for now.
So I'm assuming you do use those other means yourself, Lief. Do you see more success using those?
Yeah, I mean, as far as strong intent signals, and those are the tools I mentioned. We haven't used Addressable yet, but Hype Lab very similar, where you're looking. In our case, we're targeting developers, so we're looking at wallets that have testnet tokens as a strong indicator that they are a developer, and then it is using their either X or different Web3 publisher networks in order to target that audience. And we had seen pretty good success and strong intent with that method versus just like a pure Web2 strategy.
What about yourself, Nico?
I think I'm now in a different position in a way. Like now we're skewing way more to the Web2 world in terms of tooling. So I'm finding myself doing things that, used to be less important in Web3, which is, SEO, ORM, like online reputation management, on just like making sure all content is up to date everywhere. And it's because in our case, we're going from just like developer oriented marketing to B2B again. most of the technology that we build or that we're promoting, which is a stack for building blockchains, is it's very different to building contracts where you have like more startup oriented type builders or grassroots community builders. And we're reaching the era where regulation and trust in Web3 is high enough that businesses, Fortune 500 banks are like, yeah, I'm going to build my own ledger with this for tokenizing my company's internal economy or my company's payment system. So we are like, amazing, great. The world is moving on chain, and we're starting to get adoption from this other Web2 arenas, but like all the traditional efforts, traditional in Web3, right? Like let's say Telegram, started to matter less to us now. And then we faced the challenge of like, okay, how do we reposition those channels, right? Like what value can they bring to the community, to the ecosystem? Is it better education of what everything does in our stack? Is it a better awareness at like very, very early stage discovery? So our entire tracking that we used to do for like what a traditional funnel looked like for us from, onboarding very early community members that are completely uneducated on the product, educating them and nurturing more with Debrel and community leads onto an early stage builder now has turned into like what I recall was the funnels I used to work at in privacy and security like 80 years ago. It's like, I'm like, okay, either this is mature and we're going back, or the channels that we were happy about got super saturated with things I think are a little bit true, in my case.
Yeah, well, with SEO too, I mean, it's always been really important to have fundamentally good SEO, but I feel like with the advent of LLMs, all of a sudden SEO has become way more important because the way people are finding you now is through LLMs, and they throw out now the GEO, which is how you're perceived by LLMs. And at the core of it, it's like strong SEO practice will result in good LLM crawlability, but you are more and more trying to shape how the LLMs are perceiving your brand, which at the end of the day, it's like a mega double down on SEO.
It is, yeah. It's a search, I guess, or a AI-based search optimization. I don't remember the term or the acronyms, but it's the whole who's that now, vendors, providers, PR agencies that are now like, we are AI aware, and we, the press releases that actually are not meant for people are meant for the scrapers, so that GPT spits out the right story. And we laugh, but it's actually true. Like most of our initial research now on like how enterprise customers are doing their initial research is fortunately or unfortunately via GPT. So keeping that information up to date is critical. In our case, it's harder even, probably, you guys feel it a lot, Nabih and Lief, but, because we have so much community-driven content and really controlling the online identity of your brand, it's hard. It's not like, in a Web2 business where you pretty much have ownership of all content out there. Here you can have like Cosmos, you can find content from 2017 that, probably is not worth your time anymore. So it's quite a challenge, especially with AI that just doesn't filter, it just takes in everything.
Yeah, I think that brings me on nicely to sort of where I wanted to wrap it up. Just sort of quickly from all of you, I guess, where do you see this going in the future, the convergence of Web2 and Web3, and how do you see your role as a marketing leader changing, if you think it will at all?
I think so. So now I think something that's happening a lot to us is in marketing and how we're, thinking of our core audiences and customers. So we're having to be way more specific as to like segmenting the activities we do. So we do have marketing activities and people in the team that are just exclusively focused on customers. And we know the value that drives, that's adoption of whatever we're selling, let's say. And then we have also community or other oriented teams that are like support functions. It depends on the ecosystem, of course. Like it can show up in any flavor, but in short, what I'm trying to say is we're starting to build systems that are a little bit more complex and have customers from Web2 and marketing for Web2 coexist with marketing for native or Web3, and being more intentional and not just putting everybody in the same bucket as we were sort of doing for the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think we're at this nexus now where to get towards the billion users, we're gonna have to take on more of the enterprise sales approach. And with that, I almost look at L1's as a platform like equivalent to AWS. It's like really productizing what has traditionally been referred to as like a blockchain platform. It's like, well, how do you bundle that into a tangible product? Because that's like when you're selling into enterprise SaaS, they want to buy a product. So it's like, well, how do I take my blockchain and present it so it looks like AWS?
That makes sense. Nabih?
For me, I think the future seems bright for a lot of reasons. The Web3, I'm not sure if everyone will agree on this point, but the Web3 is becoming more regulated. We have in Europe MiCA, and the American are making things more structured. So we see Visa, MasterCard are start introducing payment via crypto and token. We see some Qatar Airways, Emirates Airways, a lot of companies are also adopting the strategy of Tesla that people can use their token. We are seeing also now the NFT is back to the market with some utility. People can use them. So I think everything is being reshaped in a better way. And this means that sooner or later, people will be able to interact and be part of what we call now Web3. It will be at some point something normal. It means, once I say normal, it means something that anyone can use and reach without thinking and without calculating and without reading about how to jump into Web3 or how to use all of these things. I think only the product that give user that will be able to serve the user and give some utility will survive, and the rest they will turn into something, as Lief did mention, infrastructure. But I think things are going into the right way. For us marketeers, we need to learn from all of these mistakes. The upcoming 4 months are not easy, but after this, I think there is a good correction in the market. And with the AI, I think everything is becoming more hard on us. One example, you can't tweet anything anymore. People can ask Grok if what we are saying is correct, is logic, and in 1 second, any lie can turn backfire on us. So again, I think the future is great. Our role will become more into cleaning up our strategy and making things more clean. And yeah, that's it.
No, perfect. I think that's a great way to end it up. I appreciate all of your insights on the topic, and from what I can hear, I think the future does seem bright, and I'm excited to see sort of how things do change in the future with regards to obviously reaching that 1 billion as we move ahead. But yeah, really thank you so much for your time, guys.